Wow. It's been a while since I've been back on any sort of mic in this way. That's a lie. I was a podcast guest just a couple of months ago. But this feels different. This feels like aligned action and authentic self-expression that has been waiting to channel out into the ethers. I had a podcast back in 2020. I started it and it was called The Bold Ambition, and it centered women and their careers and their professional development. I brought on folks in all different types of industries, and it was very much about, I kind of want to say, climbing the corporate ladder and like getting ahead and growing as a professional and networking and, just the stories of different women in their respective industries that then turned into a podcast with my loving sister-in-law, Nere, and we rebranded it to Las Hermanas with Neri and Ingrid. And that one was more holistic. It was like around self-care and nourishing the self from a 360 perspective. And that evolution happened because I did feel like I outgrew the girl boss hustler identity that I built for myself in college and right after graduation. And now I'm here with something new and not really fleshed out. It just feels good, and I'm following this intuitive flow and instinct and ping. It has felt good and like aligned to bring this out again and channel my messages and channel my life experiences. Last week I actually got a human design reading. For those wondering, I'm a 3/5 emotional generator. And a lot of my energetic essence that Tessa from the Social Alchemy Institute, which I highly recommend, Tessa was sharing was that I am here to be an influential leader, and in order to lead, I must storytell, and I must speak from the throat and from the heart. And I'm also really skilled at extracting the juice and the nectar of life and spinning it into, not spinning, because it's not like I'm manipulating it. It's more just like sucking it out and then serving it on a platter with lessons and wisdom and medicine about the actual relationship I have with life, and the way that I relate to humans, to souls, to experiences, to animals, to challenges, to dreams, to just, living just by being myself. So I'm really sitting with that, and ever since that, I have been thinking on what might be my best self-expression channel. Like, where do I go and do this? And I do remember having this podcast that I've previously named, and I also remember when I was a guest on my friend Lisa's podcast just a couple of months ago, and I felt so alive after. It was like, oh yeah, give me the mic, give me the floor, I have shit to say. And I wasn't always in my power to be able to claim that and say that. I lived a lot of years with social anxiety and, of course, insecurity, as we all do. But now that I'm on the other side and I've met those traumatic imprints, and I've also just opened up my throat chakra and have given it more love and attention, I've arrived here where this feels good. And that's kind of it. I was also sitting with like YouTube or podcast style, like more traditional, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or Substack. I'm gonna ride with Substack for a bit. Let's see what the vibes are over here. It feels intimate. It feels like I have, I don't know, also just other options to explore on Substack, like short form, long form writing. And I think you can also do just audio versus like audio and video, which this feels like a whole other leveling up. Feels nice to like see myself and allow others to see me in the way that a lot of my close friends and loved ones see me. Yeah, because I am proudly and sacredly tending to a lot of relationships, including the one that I have with myself. And all of that is an offering to life, and it is what I place on my altar of life. So this is one of those offerings, and I'm really proud and happy to be here. Wow. I'm also studying to be a somatic practitioner. I've done a couple of different programs now. I'm in the thick of one that has been the most life-changing with Judith Johnson, the pioneer and founder of psychoneuroenergetics, which is a modality inside of somatics, the type of modality of somatics. And she's worked really closely with Peter Levine, another somatic pioneer. And there's also a lot of things I'm preparing for in terms of my creative visioning and midwifing that and birthing it. It's all been one big creative act. And wow, I'm actually just now having a moment to myself of like, whoa, my life is one big creative act, especially more so now that I've decided to go down this path. And a lot of people, or just my past selves and people who've known me in a past version of me, see me as like the marketer, the freelance gal, the like, it's funny, like the networker. Like she was cute and ambitious and landed in a lot of marketing roles. Ultimately, I stepped away and I now freelance. I also had an LLC agency type of thing for a bit. Wow, when I think about that, it brings back a lot of, I don't know, it's like fond memories. And I remember being extremely burnt out when working towards that vision. It's like I had all this fire and creativity and fuel that I wanted to pour in somewhere, and I didn't know where. Like, where does this go? I poured it into marketing, which is what my career has been thus far. And it still is, actually, I might say. I actually do want to say that. There's nuance. There is a tending to that is still very alive there. And so I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what it was. And damn, I remember being in like slicked back buns all the time and like having a stale, pale, stagnant office, nothing like what I have now. Even like, yeah, the way that I beautify my spaces and my creations is just completely different. So backtracking, I experienced burnout. I was numb, completely disassociated from my body, completely paralyzed every time I walked into a room, and like overwhelmed, feeling like I needed to be something or perform. You know, everyone knows that story. And it's beautiful to tell now from the other side, and knowing that I alchemized all of that anxious energy, and now I'm here. But when I was in the thick of that, I reached out to Sophie Burns, now a dear mentor and sister and friend, to work one-on-one with her. I had done some of her programs, like sexual sovereignty, because I'm also someone who experienced sexual trauma, and I was trying to also like navigate that terrain, meet those imprints that I had not yet met. And after doing that program with her, I felt called to continue exploring, and so I worked one-on-one with her for 6 months, where we went into the mythic, where we dropped into the body through psychoneuroenergetics, masculine and feminine energetics, thriving and liberation practices. Damn, like I just completely took the reins of the way that I relate to myself, and I was like, this is no longer the way that I'm going to live, and this is not the pattern I want to continue producing. So I worked with Sophie, and I remember I also enrolled in Poetic Period with Samantha Lucy, a 6-week program where it's a lot. It's kind of, I'm not doing it justice with the words that I'm putting to it, but it's an emerging of your creativity with your menstrual cycle and your cyclical power, and it's poetry, and it's somatic deepening, and it's womb work. Like it's a lot. And I also dove into my friend Lisa's Roots program, and it's a 6-month business entrepreneurial container to birth your business of purpose, to birth your creativity and put it into tangible offerings and build a community that trusts you. I had built a business and a way of operating that led me to burnout, so I was looking for some other way to be a creative and a muse and an artist, because I only learned what I learned in university, and like the way that I saw my dad be a business owner and an entrepreneur. And so when I met Lisa through Sophie also, there was an immediate click, an immediate trust, sisterhood. She's now someone I support on the freelance side. Crazy. I went to her retreat in Canada just this past June. And in that container too, through all of these journeys, I've now connected with women and creators and poetesses and writers and just like full-on channelers of their own life vision, and like they're taking the reins, and they are taking the paintbrush, and they treat their life like a canvas, like a book that they're authoring. And that's also honestly something that I've always done very innately. And even when I was in college and post-grad, and the way that I built up this podcast, the previous one I just talked about, they were all constructed from nothing. And so it's always been the way that I move and relate to my art and my work and my offerings. But now my body of work is just looking different. It's like I'm going slower. I'm tending, I'm nurturing, I'm trusting, I'm surrendering. I'm just in full devotion to divine creation and like the flow of things, without force and without burnout and without overworking, and just being unhurried throughout this process. This being one of them, this exact podcast segment, episode, channeling, whatever we want to call it. Take a sip every time I say channel on this, because it's going to be a lot. I've really been vibing with cacao now that it's gotten chillier. Put cinnamon and cardamom and of course a little bit of maple syrup in there. Anywho, I could go deep into each one of those containers and each month of this journey, and I can really extract more of the juice from each experience, but I want to keep this succinct and just, digestible as we are getting to know each other and as we're getting acquainted. One more thing I'll say, or just a couple more things I'll say in regards to my landing here, is that I very much see this as my life's work, and it's hard for me to pinpoint and be like, oh yeah, this all started, when I started working with Soph, or even before that, sexual sovereignty. No, before that I experienced burnout. No, before that I was in, it has all been an unraveling, and there is no arrival. I hope to never arrive, because I am in the mystery of my own life. I am following each curiosity. I am developing these beautiful relationships with mentors and sisters and people in this space who get me, who see me, who want to have soul connections and thrive in community and create circular matriarchal change, cultural change. And I think my role right now, and the way that I'm following that, is through my somatic practitioner training, and also diving deep in books like Pussy, A Reclamation, Womb Awakening, Women Who Run with the Wolves, joining poetry groups, again with Samantha Lucy, being in containers with other folks who are in devotion to this same vision. And we're all wielding in our own ways, and we're all creating our own portals, whether, through flower essences, herbalists, meditation teachers, breath workers, yogis, facilitators, artists. Again, the language that I'm putting to it is also not sufficient to the greater vision here. That's actually impossible. It's a felt experience that I've been able to touch and have continued to get closer and closer. Just, even with my retreat that I attended for my psycho-neuroenergetic PNE, for short, practitioner training, just last month in September. Wow, a month ago. I went to North Carolina to Judith's home, and actually that's going to be a whole future episode because of the responsibility and leadership that I stepped into as a practitioner and as a facilitator, guiding people through their own processes on the table is it's alchemization. And it's funny, we after finishing a process, these processes are 2 hours long minimum. My group and I, we head outside, we're decompressing, just taking a minute outside with some air with the trees, and we all straight up looked at each other and we were like, dude, we're fucking witches. Witches, they're the greatest alchemists. And what happens on that table, which is a little bit hard to explain in a succinct way, is your points are being held by trusted, safe practitioners. And whether it's your STO points behind your head, your heart point, gut point, pineal gland, And you're guiding folks through their own process, through their own currents. They're meeting on the table, they're meeting their imprints. And when they're met, we guide them also towards love and towards acceptance and towards, grounding and resourcing within the self. Because when you meet these imprints, it's like you are living that experience again where you were traumatized. And subtly or not so subtly. Yeah, there's a lot to say on the subtleness. So, yeah, having that experience has really just validated and confirmed that's what I am here to do. Like, fuck, I could not. If I wasn't doing this, I would just be finding a way to start doing this and to try to get into this. And I have landed so beautifully in the hands, holding hands with people I really respect and people who are out in the field already and doing it, and guiding people through their own past, also future. We can have fun and be mythic and imaginative with it and set folks up and set the collective up to thrive and be liberated, not just healed. Why are we stopping at healing? Let's go beyond and infuse more love and power and reclamation into the process. So that is one way. Another way is through this self-expression channel that I was talking about earlier, whether through poetry, voice, showing up in person, hosting circles, hosting group containers of my own, collaborating. All of that is there's so much, that's a large meat of it actually too. And then also infusing my own magic and beauty and presence into the spaces that need it most. Sometimes it's literally your day-to-day spaces, the grocery store, going to the bank, the work meetings that you want to infuse just a little bit more humanity and love and romance into. You can always count on me for that. I will always bring a flirty smile and giggle into these very serious spaces where it's draining the fuck out of us. Yeah, I am so incredibly lucky and honored to be doing the work that I do. And I don't have just one thing that I'm doing. It's I am in a couple of different buckets, in a couple of different spheres, contributing to this vision. Wow. Moment of silence for that, because wow. Yeah, I'm going to continue weaving. This is really just the beginning. I'm so early on finding my way, and my way is going to change, and my beliefs maybe are going to change, and the way that I speak and relate to life and the way that I show up is an act of art and beauty. Can you tell I'm a Libra? And as I continue maturing and evolving and growing into my essence, my gifts, I hope to bring you along with me to witness that and for us to do that together as you are going through your own process and your own becoming. I've been saying this a lot. I started saying it last year, so maybe we've outgrown this, but I think in a lot of ways last year was about going from girlhood to womanhood. And right now, I think I'm in warriorship. I think since running my first marathon, I think since attending the Peony retreat and stepping up as a leader there, I think since turning 28 and wow, even the way that I've, crafted this home and built this sanctuary for myself, it's all been a maturing of my womanhood. And then I had to be initiated again into like, okay, now what does her sword look like? What is her shield? How does she use her throat to command in a circular way, regenerative way? Where can she be bolder, bigger, less afraid, and also welcome the fear and move with love anyway? That's what is feeling alive right now, this warriorship. Yeah. Which is powerful. I think I feel complete here. Thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, and for being part of this ecosystem that I hope to continue growing and nurturing and tending to. We'll see what other, journeys we go on in the coming weeks, days, months. I'm trying to move with inspired action. That's one thing. To like when inspiration strikes, I'm acting. Yeah. I will be dropping my website, my socials, my email list, all of that down below. If you feel inclined to tap in and dive deep, I so welcome you to do so. Take care. Thank you.